Class, I want to take a few minutes and walk you through what to do this week. I apologize for missing class on Monday. The assessment project 3 is what's due this week. There are no more Excel projects from the book, no more Excel labs from the book that are due. So scrolling down through finishing up module 2, these two were due last week, 2B and 3A. And then you have chapter 6 that is due this week, as well as assessment project 3. So let me walk you through assessment project 3. Hopefully many of you printed this out when we first started doing the assignments, but we did put in references to the project. So even if you didn't print this out ahead of time, there are some references to the project that are in here. But let's start at the beginning. So in this case, you're still the student intern, and the staff at NNGC has been gathering the potential megawatts of energy, which is abbreviated MW and little e, for each state in order to generate graphs in a spreadsheet. I need you to use your Excel skills to organize and format the data for me. I've included a link with my raw data titled Raw Excel Data. This is fictitious data, so loosely based on real sources, real information, but it is not real data. If there's any questions about that, then by all means, let me know. So I already did download that Excel spreadsheet. So let's take a few minutes and look at it. First of all, there's only one sheet. First thing you should notice when you go to an Excel spreadsheet, that's general practice for you. Anytime you open an Excel spreadsheet, or really any Microsoft document, is make sure you look down at how many tabs there are. There are many times in business that I will look at a sheet or even at some other type of a Microsoft document, and I'll miss information, and I'll ask about it, and someone will say, yeah, that was in another tab. So oftentimes you'll have multiple tabs and miss that. Also, doing a good job of naming the tabs will help people know if there are things in that tab that they need to be looking for. So in this case, there's only one tab with one sheet, and it has a few columns here. We have our state column, the geothermal megawatts of energy, the solar megawatts of energy, and wind megawatts of energy. And notice it goes down 51 rows because there's one for each state, and then including the header column. So it's a very simple, very standard looking Excel spreadsheet. So going back to the instructions, before you begin, you'll need to locate that information and save it. You can save it wherever you want. Just make sure to submit it through Canvas, but you can save it wherever you've been saving your work, whether that's a thumb drive or a local share on or local file on your computer, or possibly in the cloud in Google Drive or something along those lines. Save the file as it should be your last name, and then Assessment Project 3 Excel. So make sure that that is the file name. And it's highly encouraged that you print this out and use as a checklist. I've already told you that in the past, so hopefully you've been doing that. So let's get into the meat of the work here. Review the example below on how to set up your worksheet. So if you look down here, there is a sample that's going to help you get a visual for what it's going to look like when you're all done. So notice that there's actually a couple of them. No, just that one. This is a little bit of an idea that'll help you when we get into the graph, but we'll hold that for now. So note the sample in case you're totally lost on where we should be inserting columns or whatever. And it has you sort. The first thing it has you do is sort the list, which you learned how to do in Project 2A. So sorting with a header row, make sure you do that per the instructions you learned in Project 2A, which was the first week of Excel work that we did. Calculate the total. So there's multiple ways that we said that you could calculate a total of a list of things, and use one of those formats to calculate the total of the energy type, and then put that total in a column or in a row at the bottom of the columns. And if you need help with that, it gives you not just the project, but also the pages where you learned how to do that. So remember, there were multiple ways we learned how to do that. So do that for the second bullet. Add additional columns next to each type of energy. So now you're going to be adding or inserting columns and then it has you use a formula to indicate the percentages of the total megawatts of energy that come from each state. You will need to use the absolute cell references to calculate the percentage of the total, and you learned that in Project 1B using absolute cell references. So we're talking about percentages. So remember, this is a percentage of the whole, or a certain amount of the whole divided by the whole. And it gives you page numbers on how you will do that, but you'll be determining the percentage. And remember, there is a way to identify the percentage format so that the cell is formatted in a way that percentages are supposed to be done. Make sure you're formatted properly. Jumping ahead of myself a little bit, format the data, add a title to the column headings, creating professional looking worksheets. So you're given a little bit of flexibility. Use any instructions from the project, but where it's not specific, you don't have to do anything to the letter of the law. You can use your own creativity based on what you feel looks best. Okay, and again, see the Excel format example PDF for comma and decimal placing formats. Refer to that in Project 1A. Add averages. So now you've done some math already. You've done some addition. You've done some division with regard to the percentages, and now you're going to be averaging using the functions in Excel. And there's some instructions on page 390 in case you forgot how to do that. And conditional formatting. So refer to Project 2A when you did conditional formatting. You're going to be doing conditional formatting of these, of the cells here for the top 10 conditional formatting features. Okay, so that's more or less it for formatting the spreadsheet. And then it's going to have you create another worksheet and do some graph work or some charts. So add a second worksheet. You know how to do that based on the instructions you did in the first Excel chapter, in the first Excel labs that we did. We added worksheets. I think it was the first one. Or actually, I take that back. It was the first lab of the second group. So I think that was 2B. But you should be able to find that where you learn how to insert a worksheet. And then you'll be doing a new layout that's gathering one information from one sheet and moving it to, and presenting it on another, which again, you learned how to do in the later labs that we did. And then it's going to have you insert charts, or I'm sorry, wait a minute, let me make sure I'm not missing something. So cell linking is the reference I just made to pulling data from one sheet and pulling it into another. And be sure to give both tabs a meaningful name and color. So go ahead and name and color the tabs based on what we're doing with it. So you can use your own creativity to determine how you want to do that. There should not be a percentage column in the summary chart. Okay, you're going to be using those. You're going to be converting those numbers into a pie chart, and it's going to walk you through the insertion of these three charts, identifying. And this is where it's going to be key. Make sure that you're only presenting the information it asks you to in the chart. Don't just default to whatever the chart is showing you, but work with the chart to only show what you want or what we want to see, which is the percentages of the Nevada Energy potential. And again, the references to Project 3A that shows you how to do that. Gives you some hints on some of the formatting, and it gives you a little bit more direction here with regard to the formatting. It does have you go through and do a header and position the header, and it references Project 1A, so back to the beginning. Reminds you about how to name the Excel project, and then submit. Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing, the print orientation. Be sure that that step is correct, and then submit. Yet another reminder on the file name. And the way that I'll be grading this is if you sorted it, 2 points. If you calculate the total at the bottom of the columns, 2 points. If the columns were added to the percentages of the total, if columns were added, I should say, and if they included percentages of the total, 2 points. If you did the percentages correctly using absolute cell references, 6 points. Data formatted professionally with the appropriate type of formatting, depending on what's in the column, whether it's a number value or a percentage value, 5 points. Title and text, 2. The correct averages, 2. and the conditional formatting is 3. And remember, that was just the top 10. And then that's just for the first worksheet. So there's, I don't know what the math is on this, but it's about half of it, a little more than half of it actually, for the first worksheet, I think. And then for the second one, you need that summary chart, and it showed you how to do that. The averages, the 3 different graphs or charts, making sure that the charts have titles and legends properly, and the header. And then the print format is that last 2 points. So this is number 3 of a total of 5 exams or assessment projects, but I refer to them as exams. I will not be providing assistance for these because they are exams. So if you need to reference back to something that you didn't get right, go ahead and look back at your lab assignments. And this project does give you the exact project, and in some cases the page number where the project information was located. So it should be pretty easy for you to find that. So hopefully this is a little bit of help for you. I will post more videos as I think I need to. I'll take a look at chapter 6 and see if there was anything else for chapter 6 that you need prior to doing your quiz. But if not, if you don't see a video from me, don't forget to take your chapter 6 quiz. You can get the information from your e-text in Pearson that will help you get the information you need to take that. So if you have any questions, though, on chapter 6, you can certainly reach out to me, but you're working on the assessment project on your own like an exam. Thanks.